October 25th, 2011. We here on the spot. I got my political analyst crew here with me. Stephen Thompson to my far right. Saquan Jones is back. We're glad to have him back. He started with us, and we're glad to have him back.
Thanks for having me again.
Our first subject we're going to open up with, Muammar Gaddafi is dead.
International events, as they say. Rest in peace. Obama, let's see, he's come through again in the international landscape. A lot of people got to ask, is this man ever fail at international events and the situation?
That was his weak point. Didn't they say that when it started
in
the
the beginning, they said that he didn't have whatever to handle the international landscape. But that's not the situation now.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I'm sort of intrigued about how it's going to sort of play itself out is that this is the second sort of high-level risk, according to America or the right standard, that Obama has taken out. He first is Osama bin Laden. Now Muammar Gaddafi.
Wait,
and then there were several other
Al-Awlaki took him out.
Yeah, there are countless other high-level Al-Qaeda officials that he took out as well.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, the ones, Al-Awlaki was one of the higher ones, but there are ones that the drone attacks that he gave authorization to kill for were done too. But this was more of an instance where Obama utilized international support to sort of have this thing. It was a UN-run campaign. The United States only used, and I'm not saying only as if it's a small amount, but it was a $2 billion effort, whereas Iraq and Afghanistan cost about $10 billion a month.
Right. Yes.
So it was a good opportunity. Hopefully he gets credit
He's got to get credit. The only issue he doesn't do really is make it theater, because the politics is theater. So what you have to do is continuously say, look what I've done. This is amazing. Anybody who knows international history and things like that, in a short time, look, we're looking at Libya, we're looking at Tunisia, we're looking at Egypt, we're looking at Syria happening right now.
I think they're, not to interject, but I think they're going to start marketing Egypt also for this political race.
No doubt.
Because his speech started the fall in the Middle East.
Well, but what you guys are not realizing too is that Middle Eastern sort of the region Middle East is going to eventually go into Saudi Arabia, and when you have the king,
that's going to be rough.
No, that's going to be rough. That's going to be no. It's going to spread. Believe me,
but
it's
hold
going
on.
to
Saudi
spread.
Arabia gave each citizen about $15,000. They paid their people.
I understand that, but when you, I'm going to say how it's going to. I'm going to create sort of like this timeline.
Okay.
If it goes into Saudi Arabia, which I believe that it will, because if you get a Mercedes, you're not the only one on the block with the Mercedes. Eventually, somebody else is going to get it because they see that you have it. That's just human nature. So if it goes into Saudi Arabia, then you're going to see how it's going to affect America's oil prices.
But the only problem with that,
and then we'll see how they'll try to play it plays out through Obama from there.
Destabilization of the Saudi kingdom is a problem in that we have a kind of a schizophrenic idea about that, because if in fact they destabilize that situation, that's our oil. I mean, that literally is our lifeline. So when you look at who would take over in Saudi Arabia, would that be our friends? So unfortunately, a lot of people pointed out that America supports their friends, but they could be dictators, they could be basically some bad people.
The CIA will not allow that to happen.
And that's the key
in
issue.
Saudi Arabia.
To your point,
they pay the people, and if they have to pay again,
King Saud, it's a very difficult situation. They are very much looking at, we need to stop this right now.
How do you stop it if it went from Egypt to Libya? It's a natural progression of rebellion.
Among the young. Started with the young.
When are you going? And I mean, obviously, and even if you, our next segment is going to be, you're going to talk about Occupy Wall Street. You have to look at this being the brainchild of Occupy Wall Street. Everything has been started in the Middle East.
And brought over here.
It's been brought over here in terms of, rebellion against individuals who have all the power. I mean,
and the idea, the Arab Spring.
Okay.
And the idea, but see, what you have to look at, the fundamental change and a kind of a situation where we are part of kind of lighting the flame, because especially in Libya and things like that. But when you look at, changing these guards, in Saudi Arabia, we really benefit from having the Saudis in the monarchy. We really do.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you?
Right.
How is that? How is Obama? Because obviously, what's going to happen is what may potentially happen with Jimmy Carter.
Right.
Is how does when that rebellion or that revolution spreads eventually to Kuwait and to Saudi Arabia, it's already near. It's already in Iraq, Afghanistan. I mean, the only thing between the two is basically Iran, and we're almost ready to go after them as we speak.
Oh, man, we're drumming it up. We're using that little.
Yeah.
Probably a bad idea to go now.
I believe so.
But then I'm just saying, like, how do you stop it from happening if that's the natural? It's going from east to west right now. So
and the will of the people.
Exactly. But when it's going to happen is, you know, that we're going to get an instance where oil or gas is going to be $7 because there's no
we go in Iran, it's going to be $7.
Right.
It went up because Libya was going through turbulence. It went up like $2 because Muammar Gaddafi wasn't.
Let's be for real. We stuck up the oil country.
But we don't take any oil.
We stuck up Iraq. How come we don't have any oil?
Well,
how come the prices went up so high?
Well, you're talking about a petrochemical industry that is basically functioning, but they manage those systems. They're not allowing something to go out of whack too far, you know. So that's a key issue. I mean, we're looking at this geopolitical landscape and understanding that this is amazing. I mean, this is really the Arab Spring and this continued situation in the region.
Okay, you know? So now let's take it in to Occupy Wall Street with that same
global perspective
and how the people, the will of the people, has now taken what happened in the Middle East.
Well, the one thing that with the Occupy Wall Street is I don't have a problem with the sort of Occupy or the rationale. You're politically active. You're politically active. I'm politically active. I don't see a structure involved with this.
No, they don't have one.
How do you take something hostage and not have a ransom note?
But it's a month. It's a month.
Right. A month of what?
It's a month. But guess what? Regardless of what, at the end of the game, they got something on an international movement right now.
Amazing.
They was able to do it with no structure because it's a leaderless fight right now. Ted has a committee on political action committee down there right now. Ted's sitting over here doing program directing, has a political action committee right now. But now let's let this here. 1 month. The election is what? Presidential election is what? 13 months away.
I mean, I'll let you.
Right.
The Occupy Wall Street. Now, I understand the rationale behind it, but this is almost like an Apple sort of gizmo. It's you buy it because it's an Apple product. Like everybody's buying into it because it's against this sort of monstrosity that we have. But there's no sort of agenda involved. At least I don't see an agenda. Like it's like they've taken this park hostage and haven't given a ransom note to anyone.
I think it evolved so big. They've changed their bylaws about 10, 12 times now.
Right.
Because it's evolving.
I don't know what the bylaws are, though. No.
Okay, I don't have it here, and I
not
guess
you personally. I'm not challenging you, but I don't think anybody knows.
They didn't realize it was going to be this big on an international level. So this thing has gotten so big now that they don't know really what to do.
And
they want help, but they have a problem. The problem is, and I'm going to let you tell it now.
Well, the problem is the clarity to be able to say, what is our ability to look? Two things, power and influence. So, you know, what power do we have and what influence can we basically impact? So one of the things that people want to say is like, well, what's the agenda? And you're
taking money out of politics is their agenda.
You know, if you come in to rob someplace, what's the ransom note?
Yeah.
And that's valid. What I think some people do have to step back and understand. Look at what we can say is a documented situation in the civil rights, era. It took a year for the bus boycott. People took time to get their idea, but there was a clarity. Yeah. But here's the thing that a lot of people forget. In the 21st century, we live in a very interesting world, very chaotic. And you have to give them the idea that what is the idea of that we have one particular thing? These are young people who have a different generation. I mean, they're a little younger than even Saquan, I think. So their idea is, you know what? There's a lot of issues. We're going this way and that way. That may be the 21st century ideal.
Well, let me address that, Norm, because I read this article. A friend of mine sent me this article on how there's no minority presence in Occupy Wall Street. This is the reason why there's no minority presence. There's no structure involved in the process.
So
I'm not saying that black people. I'm not saying minorities need to be led or anything like that. I'm not, and that's not my indication. I mean, I'm a minority, and I'm politically active.
Right. Majority minority.
I'm more minority. But if I go down there, I don't want to just go down there with a cardboard sign like Ed Lover saying, "Come on, son!" Like, wait, what's going on? What's the agenda? How does this affect minorities at the end of the day? And I don't think that they have done a good enough job because of the non-structure.
But they're getting it together. But now here's the difference. When do the minority people of color realize that this affects us? See, we went down there. They was down there. Like I said, Ted has his crew down there. But guess what? You want to talk about police brutality. Right. And I had to tell Ted, listen, get that crap off the table. On a national, international level, police brutality is nothing. Police brutality is a big part of our community, and we hope to God nothing ever happens to our children within police. But let's be for real, we got a bigger problem than that. We have no jobs in our community. There's a lot of things we don't have that we need to have, and police brutality is really more of an issue for certain people to just make money. Your opinion on this?
Until they can find some sort of solution, or at least have some sort of structure involved, they're never going to tap the minority market, and they are never going to influence the amount of change that I think that they have the drive.
You said never?
I don't believe so, because it is now a sideshow now, Norm. This is a tourist event now. You understand?
Okay, well, we go close it out with that.
I mean,
let's close it out. Let's close it out.
We'll look back on this in 10 years and say this is the most effective, most powerful movement we've seen in the history of civilization.
We'll be right back.
All right.
We'll be right back after this message.